A Worldview from London with Adam Gilchrist.
Honduras is where we start. South Africa, particularly Cape Town, often likened in terms to our violent crime statistics to countries in Latin America, Mexico, but also Honduras. We're seeing reports of increasingly high levels of ultra violent crime in that country. And there are often parallels drawn between South Africa and a country like Honduras when it comes to murder and sexual violence crimes.
Although you would think smaller country, very different kind of eco-sociological problems. We all have problems, but Honduras is a swathe of that sort of central part of Central America. So Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, all been looked at as places with armed conflicts in the past and renewed armed conflicts, but not officially a kind of budding civil war like Sudan, for instance. But people in Honduras, according to the Norwegian Refugee Council, who look out for quite a lot of people on this planet, including particularly Syrians, but they've looked at Honduras and they say they are facing, in their words, warlike levels of violence. And indeed, the boss of the NRC, Jan Egeland, has spoken whilst visiting Honduras, has spoken about people whose sufferings on a level that you would find in any armed conflict, in any war, about communities displaced by gangs, about sometimes communities forced to live by the gun, at the point of a gun, women being sexually abused and raped. Indeed, I think it was said at one stage, it was pretty much one woman every day was being murdered, and the male rate of homicide is higher than that, but also children getting caught up in the conflict. It's drugs gangs, it's violent gangs. It is also, in some cases, fights for territory. It is a mess. And you sort of feel for the good people of Honduras with that report coming out.
I've been watched many documentaries and news inserts about the simply civil violence in Honduras streets. But related, many violent areas feel like war zones. But reports coming out that the world's countries are racking up military spending. There have been reports of a record 12 months of weapons stockpiling. We're in a very uncertain period in world affairs,
aren't we? And technically speaking, where although there are some, of course, major conflicts and some clear battle zones, as it were, technically speaking, there is less war now than there was back in the days of more African nations at civil war, Balkan nations, the Far East, technically, but the tension, as you say, the tension seems to be fueling this in particular. And indeed, this is from some conflict researchers in Sweden, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI for short. They do this every year. They look at how much overall everyone is spending on their military. And they reckon the increase just in the past year has been nearly 4%. So in total, the planet Earth is spending pretty much $2.2 trillion on their military equipment, human beings, whatever. That's 2.2 followed by 12 zeros dollars. My calculator wasn't quite big enough to do it in rand, but $2.2 trillion. And they particularly cite the invasion of Ukraine, America's uneasy peace with China, tensions in East Asia. Again, it's all sort of perceptions of tension and what's going on. Ukraine's military spending has increased by 640%. You can understand why in the past year. That's the biggest ever increase for any country since pretty much the Second World War. But this is the perhaps bone of contention I'm just going to throw out there. The US is the biggest military spender by far. If you were trying to guess roughly how much they spend, well, they fork out 3 times what China does on its military. And China itself is spending 3 times what Russia is spending. Those are the top 3 spenders. So America is by far still hugely the biggest spender. And is that American insecurity that is fueling peace, or American insecurity that is fueling an arms race, or is it both? It's a bit uncomfortable to blame America, but somehow they're not taking, classically, they're not taking guns out of the situation, are they?
And then finally, it's the celebrity feud I did not know I wanted to see. It's Chandler Bing versus John Wick, or is it Neo from the Matrix movies? Matthew Perry and Keanu Reeves. Why are they going at it?
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Matthew Perry wrote in his autobiography some mean references to Keanu Reeves. So Matthew Perry, aka Chandler Bing in Friends, made repeated references to Keanu Reeves in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. That's the name of Matthew Perry's book, in which he said, or he kind of asked, why is Keanu Reeves still walking amongst us while talented actors like River Phoenix have died?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. There's criticism, and then there's that. Matthew Perry now says it was a stupid thing, it was a mean thing. He says he's apologized. He says he will apologize in person next time he runs into Keanu Reeves. I get the feeling they're slightly in concentric circles and not necessarily really going to run into each other. But I don't know. There is a thing that, have a bit of courage. If you're going to criticize somebody, yeah. I mean, if you think about Keanu Reeves' acting talent in The Matrix, Speed, John Wick, he played that tree in Lord of the Rings, and I think he was a surfboard in Point Break. Fair enough, but you're kind of not meant to wish death on somebody, are you?